What's going on, man?
Nada.
Got quite the card here, dude.
Yeah, I mean, it has its uh, spots, but really kind of underwhelming. Only 12 fights, which is kind of crazy when we just had 13 fight, fight night.
Yeah, look at the the main card quality though is fantastic. That's the part that I really like. Is we have at the top, you know, Fluffy Hernandez and Kopilov, which obviously is a little bit lower level, but then we have Marab and Henry Cejudo, Neal and Gary, Whitaker Costa, Volk Topuria. But I do agree. I wish we could have gotten 14 fights on this card. Give us one more banger for the main card. Maybe replace Fluffy Hernandez and Kopilov with a heavyweight banger or something. But pretty good at the top, but it is a little top heavy.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people withdrew and stuff got rescheduled because Tui was supposed to be on this card as well.
Oh man,
So,
dude, that would have been it. That would have been the one we
yeah.
were looking for.
So I
Wanna
mean, I guess we can hop right into it. We're starting it off with kind of, I don't even know how you would call it, but Andrea KGB Lee versus Miranda Fear the Maverick.
Fear the
Um,
Maverick? That's new, I think. Fear the Maverick.
Now she's always been that. It's really just really tacky.
It is, yeah. It
Um,
is.
so this one, this is a weird fight. I mean, I get it. I think Andrea KGB Lee. This must be her last fight on her contract. She's dropped three of the last five. Um, and they had really high hopes for Miranda Maverick. Um, she did just. I actually faded her last time she fought, and she actually submitted Priscilla Cachoeira, which was surprising to me. Um, but before that, she's got a loss. She's kind of been like on and off, on and off. Like once she kind of steps up to a little bit higher bit of a level, um, she really doesn't do much with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She fought Aaron Blanchfield. Obviously, everybody, Aaron Blanchfield's on a different level. But then she'll get like a win over Mazo and Young, but then steps up to Jasmine Jazavicius, which we know what she's been doing. She takes an L, and then she gets a win over Priscilla Cachoeira, which is crazy to me, but it is what it is. And then going up against KGB, she's a little long in the tooth. She's dropped her last three. Um, I just don't. I mean, she had a split decision against Macy Barber, which, I mean, I guess you could rule that in her favor, since we know what Macy Barber's been doing. But still, I don't think she's gonna make it that far. I think Miranda Maverick's gonna. She could probably get a stoppage. She might just take her to the ground and just ground and pound. Um, she did just get a submission, which was pretty cool. Um, but I don't think KGB has it in her anymore. You know what I mean? I think it's that ship has sailed. Um, yeah, so maybe she even gets a submission. She does have seven subs, so maybe she gets the submission stop.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat here. I think, this is in if this was in 2021, maybe we have a different story here where you get a little bit more of a exciting close fight, but for me I feel like Maverick probably just pushes the pace on her, lands a few takedowns, jabs her from the outside, and just takes advantage of Andrea Lee being, 35 years of age at 125 pounds, which that weight cut's not getting any easier at 35, and especially as a lady at 35. And Maverick, 26, not even 27 yet. She's not even in her prime yet. So, and she's coming off of a win. She's won 3 out of her last 5. She's still young. She's still improving a lot between camps. So I feel like Maverick probably pushes the pace here, mixes in a few takedowns, and I'm kind of on the same board or on the same train as you that she might get a sub here. I think it could be, rear naked choke, if not rear naked or some sort of probably not arm triangle, but rear naked would be my biggest prediction. But if not, she probably just cruises to a easy win, 30-27 sort of a situation.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not. It's an okay fight. I understand.
It's a bad fight. I'll be honest. I think it's a bad fight. I'm not excited about it.
I understand why they're doing it.
Yeah.
You're kind of propping up your younger fighter against somebody that's going out. But it makes sense why they're doing it. It's just I'm not really interested in it.
Agreed.
Oh boy.
This next one should be fun, dude.
We'll see. So we got Val Woodburn versus Oban Elliott. Val Woodburn, most famously known for getting the last minute fight against Bo Nickel and then just standing there and getting stopped.
that was funny, dude. He did the stanky leg.
Yeah, I don't know. There's not this one. I'm not really even gonna touch. Just for the simple fact that neither one of these guys have the UFC experience. Val's coming off of like Combat Night and stuff like that. 30 years old, a 7-1 record against another kid that 26 years old, but he's coming off a decision win on the Contender Series, and then he was in Cage Warriors, stringing together decision wins for the last year and a half. I honestly don't know. What weight is this going to be at?
This is welterweight, so I think Val fought at 185, and he's going down to 170 now.
Okay, so and he was huge. He was huge at 185.
Yeah, dude, he's like built like a barrel. He's got that like torso with a lot of power.
Yeah, so this might be a thing where I don't know if he even makes the cut. To be honest with you,
I agree. Honestly, it's kind of scary because he barely made 185. Like he was 185 and a half, and it didn't look like it was an easy cut in that last fight.
Yeah, so and this other kid, Oban Elliott, he's a pretty decent favorite right now. It'd be curious to see how these guys do. If this is this Val's normal weight though? Let me see if I could double check that.
Yeah, I can run over and look real quick. Oh shit, I didn't mean to click on that. Okay, yeah, let me go look and see if he normally fights at 170.
Because that's gonna be a big thing too. No, see, he fought at 185 the fight before Bo Nickel.
Yeah, and then he fought at 205 the fight before that.
Okay. Yeah, so this isn't. I don't know why he's doing that. But I wouldn't be. I wouldn't be doing it. These guys are so much faster. I think that's what it's going to come down to. Is going to be speed.
And every single weight class you drop, until you get to about 155, there's just such a big jump in the skill level required when you go down a weight class. Like these 170 pounders, they're just going to be so much more technical than those 185s and those 205s he's been fighting. This Elliott guy is pretty decent. He's tough. That fight that he had on Contender Series was quite fun to watch. It was a tough fight for him. He got a little bit sent at him, and he sent a little bit back. But honestly, dude, Val Woodburn, if he makes 170 with a successful cut, he's going to be a fucking powerhouse. It's kind of scary to think about betting Elliott at minus 290 when Val could be, just this absolute animal, that's his nickname, the animal. And he trains with good guys. We've heard he trains with Chris Curtis often. He trains with Sean Strickland. So he trains with good guys. It's just a matter of is he going to be able to make the cut, and is he even UFC caliber? Because we've only seen him against Bo Nickel, one of the premier prospects in the UFC. I feel like you take a shot on Val here, or you just don't bet it. Um, in my opinion, Elliott, the side, minus 290 is just not attractive to me. Although I do think at a high clip, he probably is more likely to win this fight. But for me, it's just like that price tag paired with we don't know if Val is going to be a world beater at 170. We don't know if he's going to be an absolute powerhouse. We don't know anything. So it's like you're kind of betting on what you don't know, which to me is kind of stupid. So take a shot on Val by knockout, and I think that's the only thing I'd really be interested in betting here.
Yeah, I mean, you have to. This is something where if you want to throw something on it now, I get it. It's not even the knockout prop isn't even out yet. But see how weigh-ins go, But I don't give Val at 170 more than a round. So maybe you could take Elliott with a round 2 finish. That might be something. If it's plus money, I would look at.
Yeah, you could 2-3, or if they have like over 1.5 Elliott finish, you could do that too.
Yeah, I think that's what I'd be looking at. It's hard. It's hard because you didn't see much when he fought Bo Nickel, but he did freeze. He absolutely froze up, and
yeah, and then he got fucking sniped.
Yeah.
From the stands, bro. Bo Nickel was like 8 feet away, and then bam, right to the chin.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It was actually insane. All right, this next one. I'm not sure how excited most people are for this one, but we have Josh Kinlan, which, by the way, Josh Kinlan was apparently a very large prospect going into his last few fights because he was big favorite in most of his fights in the UFC, and he won one of them against Jason Witt, who sucks ass, but he then lost to Trey Waters, who is kind of a long kickboxer, and that's exactly who he's fighting now. Danny Barlow, kind of a long kickboxer. He got a knockout on the Contender Series. He got a knockout right before that. He got a knockout right before that. He got a decision, and he got a knockout right before that. So the guy gets knockouts. He's 6'2" with an 80-inch reach. He's going to have an 8-inch reach advantage on Josh Kinlan here. I will say Danny Barlow has been crushing cans. He's only 7-0, so he's one of those prospects that hasn't really had an opportunity to fight anybody really good yet. And he's been crushing cans. I mean, 2-6, 1-0, 5-5, 2-1 were the guys that he fought until he got that Contender Series fight, which he fought a guy who was 7-1. So nobody impressive on his resume. But for me, the big thing is that 80-inch reach here. Josh Kinlan just fought a long, rangy kind of kickboxer, powerful punching in Trey Waters, and he couldn't deal with it. And so I just don't know if he's going to be able to deal with it here. I also don't know a lot about Danny Barlow. I watched his Contender Series fight, and I was able to find one other fight, but he just bonked the guy. It was just like boink, and then the guy was dead. So I don't know a ton about Danny Barlow in the, later as the fight goes on. I don't know a ton about if he's going to be able to defend if Josh Kinlan tries to, take him down. But I do know that Josh Kinlan does not deal with long, rangy strikers well. And so I'm going to pick Danny Barlow just for that here. But I'm not interested in betting this one at all. I'm not betting minus 180 on a guy who just came out of Contender Series, who has 7 fights, and like 5 of them are against guys with losing records. I'm not doing that. I'm not betting on him. Kinlan, though, it's just not attractive to me right now. If he were to get a finish here and look good, maybe I'd bet him in the next one. But for now, I need to wait and see on both these guys. Watch this fight and then take it from there.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I would, depending on what the lines get closer to towards Saturday night, I might take a little on Quinlan, just for the simple fact that his resume is not exorbitantly better, but it is steeper competition. Like you said, I'll take Quinlan, who's winning in the LFA, over a guy that's fighting CFC and bum fights
Yep.
oh, and fighting in a gulag. We'll see. He does have that reach, but we'll see if Quinlan can get in there, kind of make it a little dirty box, suffocate him, and close that space. But it would have to be, a Quinlan plus 250 for me to honestly take it. I think he will win. But like you said, you want to see a little bit more. So I think he does win. But it would have to be a good line for me to actually want to bet him.
It could be a little bit of that Dana White Contender Series fade, which I think the numbers on that are showing that like 60% of the Contender Series guys lose their first fight in the UFC. So it's been working, fairly often for the past couple of years. They only have some prospects that come out of Contender Series that actually end up, paying it out. But this just seems like a crazy line, for me, just minus 200 on a dude that has 7 fights and, five of them are guys with losing records. Like, I don't know what Vegas is thinking. Maybe they're thinking Josh Kinlan is fucking bad. I don't think he's bad. I just don't think he's good either. I just think he's a very mid UFC fighter. So I don't know. I'm kind of leaning now that I got the feel out of what you said. I'm kind of leaning towards if Josh Kinlan, gets a big number next to his name. I don't know. It's kind of enticing with that Contender Series fade. And this guy being a can crusher, we haven't seen him in the UFC yet. I'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah, I mean, we have to. I want to wait and see. You know me. I like to see weigh-ins. I want to see how sucked out people look.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens Friday, and then see if we get any juicy lines.
Please give us a good. There's the main event. I want to see some line movement there, but we'll be talking about that one later. Oh man, we got a light heavyweight fight here. These guys are both on winning streaks. Ming Yang Zhang versus Brenson Ribeiro. Wow. Yeah. Ming Yang Zhang is on a let me make sure I get this right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 fight winning streak. It's impressive. So that means he started his career with a losing record through 12 fights. Because he was 5-6. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Something like that. Math is fucking hard. Anyways, moving on. Ribeiro's on a 3-fight winning streak. He knocked out Bruno Lopez on Contender Series, and before that, he had 2 knockouts as well. He punches hard. He's gonna have a reach advantage here. He's got an 81-inch reach, which is pretty significant. We got Ming Yang Zhang with a 75-inch reach and that 9-fight win streak. What are you thinking, Tim? I don't have a great opinion on this, so I'll let you kick us off.
I always like to do the business side of it. So, with Zhang's latest win, right? His last win was on the road to the UFC, but that was a year and 6 months ago. And before that, he fought 2 years and 9 months ago. And so he's really fighting. He's not that active, and I do like to see the active guys. But with that being said, the amount that the UFC is trying to put in the work in China and with this road to the UFC, I think this is something that they want for him to move on to the next step. Now, when you have Ribeiro coming off a Contender Series, he did finish the guy, Bruno Lopes. He finished him. It is what it is. Before that, he was in the Chuto Brazil. He got the finish, and before that, like you said, another finish. And then he's got knocked out. twice, 2 times in a row. And he's had 5 fights in 2 years, which is a decent amount of fights. I think they're really going to push Zhang to win this, just for the movement of the road to the UFC and how it looks good for the China side of business. Right now, it's Tapology. Majority of the people are on Ribeiro, 65% Ribeiro to 35% Zhang. So that might let me get a plus money on Zhang, and if that's the case, I will take it. I will take the road to the UFC fighter over the Contender Series guy.
Yeah, also the talent we've been seeing come out of China has been crazy lately. I mean, we're going to be seeing more later on, but the stuff that we've seen on the road to the UFC, there's been some real prospects on that as well. And Ming Yang Zhang, I mean, I was impressed when I watched his road to the UFC fight. I watched it on 2 times speed, so it looked like he was fucking quick as shit. But yeah, I was impressed. So I don't have a huge opinion on this one. I'll kind of take Zhang just to have a pick in there, but for the most part, this will be another sit and watch. But yeah, I like Zhang here. I also like his win streak. That's pretty big time. Ribeiro's gonna come with power though, and he's gonna come to brawl. So if Zhang's not careful, could get chin tapped. But yeah, Zhang's a pick for me.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing. So he could get chin tapped, but at the same time, obviously, when you come in with that gunslinger mentality, that's why he's been. Before he puts together this 3-fight win streak, he got slept, twice.
You're gonna get chin tapped, yeah.
That's kind of what you're looking at here. So we shall see. But I do like Zhang on this one.
All right. Oh man, this is our boy coming up right after this from Japan. Our boy Rinya Nakamura. He was on the road to the UFC as well, and he's fighting Carlos Vera, who's actually on a 4-fight win streak, but has not fought for a year and 4 months. He won a Fury fight. 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 So 4 fights that he won in a row in Fury. And he's coming in here at 36 years of age. And he's a heavy, heavy underdog. It's actually swelled. It says on Tapology it's minus 850 for Nakamura. It's actually minus 1350 now for Nakamura. This is our boy, though. I mean, I'm not going to have a bet on him because minus 1350, it's like, what can you do? You can't bet that. But, I mean, this is a guy that I think is going to be moving towards a championship sooner than later. He's one of those, he has that wrestling at the national level in Japan, and he's just beating guys absolute ass on the ground. Like, we watched that last fight against Fernie Garcia, who's actually kind of hard to sub. We saw it last week. Fernie Garcia got locked up right around the neck, and he didn't tap. He got out of it. So, Fernie's a little tough to submit, but Nakamura, I mean, this guy is dynamic on the feet. He has good cardio. He's dynamic on the ground. I think he runs through Vera, and I think he makes it look damn easy. And I'm hoping after this fight, the UFC gives him a step up because, Vera is just coming into the UFC here off that 4-fight win streak. So they're kind of giving Nakamura the slow, come-up treatment, which I respect a lot because they learn from their mistakes with, like, the Darren Tills of the world and that sort of stuff. But after this fight, I want to see Nakamura getting, like, a fringe top 25 guy. Let him get a little bit of a test in because I think he's going to run through Carlos Vera. What do you think, Tim?
Yeah, so what I'm going to do on this one is I will take Nakamura under 4.5 minutes. So I'm going to take... So here's the thing. He finishes guys. I might even sprinkle a little under a half a round.
I like it.
He can go out there and he can knock you out. And I had him by finish, and I thought it was a lock. But then afterwards, he did say, he can go the full amount of time and not get tired and just keep putting at pace. He was going for the submissions, and granted, I don't want to take anything away from Fernie Garcia, but it was almost like Nakamura just wanted to go the distance if he had to. He had complete control, and he was just going for a submission. Like, that was his goal.
He wanted like that certain submission, that arm submission.
Yes. And he kept going to it. So we know he stayed in the same position. That's the whole thing. Like, he stayed right where he was comfortable the whole fight. So I see him now that he just has that experience, that 15 minutes under his belt. This is where you make a statement. Go out there. He's probably going to drop Carlos Vera, and, it's going to be a quick one. So I'm not going to go too crazy on it, but I think him under 4.5 minutes, inside or even inside a round, I think that could be a very decent bet. It is possible, because if you look at his last couple fights before the Fernie fight, those were all, 33 seconds in round 1, 2 minutes 20 seconds round 1, 3 minutes 24 seconds in round 1.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. 25 seconds round 1, 20 seconds. That was 20 seconds round 2, 42 seconds round 1. He can go in and just crack you, and that's it. It's lights out. So
yeah, he can.
But the only problem is, and I say that, is because he has that history, you might have to take inside a half a round, and that might be plus 110. So it might not even be worth it. But it is a possibility. So that's one of those things where if it's something silly like plus 300, I'll be all over it for inside a half a round. Or if it's anything, even if it's plus 250, plus 200 under 4.5 minutes, I'd take that too.
Yeah, this guy, I mean, I think the UFC knows what they have here. I think they're just kind of feeding them guys to crush, and I think this is going to be one of those situations where he just goes out there. He also always stalks his opponents right at the beginning. Like, he's always in their face, walking them down from the opening bell. And I feel like one of these times he's just going to, like you said, kind of land that punch that puts him away early. It could be here. It could be against Carlos Vera. Has he been knocked out before? That's my other question. Let me go look at this. Losses. He has not been knocked out, but he's been subbed twice. So, yeah, it could be one of those where he knocks him and then chokes him out. Okay. What do we got here? We got Marcos Rogerio de Lima versus Justin the Bad Man Tafa. This is going to be kind of the heavyweight slop fest of the night. It feels like there's one of them every card. The thing that sticks out to me here is De Lima is 38 years old, coming off of a knockout against Derek Lewis that was the craziest line of all time. Getting Derek Lewis plus 170, plus 180 against De Lima, and he comes out and flying knees him right at the open. De Lima has been a guy who's surprisingly kind of been held in high regards. He beat Waldo Cortez Acosta, Arlovsky, Ben Rothwell. So he's not really getting good wins, but obviously Vegas thought he was pretty good because they put him as a favorite against Derek Lewis, which Derek Lewis is not going to lose to anyone who's not a top-tier heavyweight in the UFC. He trains an American top team, so he's got that going for him. I just don't see how he's going to do against kind of a surging Justin Tafa. Justin Tafa's 30 years old. We saw Justin Tafa stumble at the beginning of his UFC career. He had a loss to Jared Vandera. I believe he had another kind of bad loss. Carlos Felipe, and then he lost to Jorgen De Castro. So we've seen Justin Tafa stumble in the UFC, but now he's 30 years old. He turned 30 2 months ago. So he's in that 30s. He's coming into that prime. De Lima's heading out of that prime. Justin Tafa's on a 3-fight win streak. He just beat Austin Lane. He beat Parker Porter. He beat Harry Hunsucker, who, again, those three are not very good. But De Lima doesn't have very good wins either. Maybe Cortez Acosta's his only good win there. So for me, I feel like this is a dog or pass situation. On DraftKings right now, Justin Tafa's plus 120. I feel like that's the side, from my opinion, because De Lima's getting old. Justin Tafa's getting into his prime. And also, Justin Tafa's little brother's coming up. We've been watching him, and he's knocking people out now. So I think they have a little bit of momentum going right now, the Tafa brothers. So I think he comes out here. I think he could knock out De Lima later in the fight, second round, third round, get him out of there. De Lima's going to have to grapple. That's going to be the big thing, is De Lima's going to have to grapple Tafa, and I think De Lima's going to get tired, and then that age is going to start to wear on him. That extra weight he carries around is going to start to wear on him, and Tafa's going to carry that power. So Tafa by KO, I think, is going to be where I sit with this one.
Yeah. I'm right there, 100%. Tafa by KO for me. Here's the thing. De Lima got, smoked by Derek Lewis. His best win was against Waldo Cortez Acosta, but that fight, when I watched that fight, it's almost like Acosta didn't even want to be there. So you're going, that's his best one because of Acosta's record. And then you say, well, he's got to win over Andrei Arlovski. Andrei Arlovski is, was he mid-40s?
Yeah, dude.
So,
he's been around since 1980.
Yeah. That's just a name. That's a name on your. Yeah, I beat Andrei Arlovski, not prime Andrei Arlovski, because he would have kicked the shit out of me, but an older, early 40s Andrei Arlovski. But then when he fights that like Alexander Romanov or Ivanov, he can't get past that step. So when he steps up against somebody that is could be on that higher level, who could be that top 10 future, he runs into a problem. And I think Tafa is going to be in the top 10, top 15 at some point. If he can put them together, I think Tafa can go pretty far. I'm not saying he's a champ or anything like that. He's like the Tui. I think he has a very similar path to victory as Tui does, or as Tui did. We'll see what happens, but I think he's just going to spark him, and it's going to be a wrap for De Lima. I think it's going to be quick too. Because I think honestly, De Lima is going to be shell shocked still from that Derek Lewis running out flying knee.
That was the craziest, bro. We were watching that together, and Derek Lewis gets 6 feet off the ground with his knee. Dude's the craziest.
That's what I'm saying. So, we don't know how mentally he's, De Lima's another guy. He can't seem to string them together. He can't keep going. I mean, he had 2 wins, but like you said, one's off old Arlovski, and then Cortez Acosta, who was appeared to be flustered, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But you got Tafa's coming out there. I mean, granted, he's fighting Honeysucker, Parker Porter, and Austin Lane, but he's going out there and he's doing what he's supposed to be doing, and he's just flatlining,
Yeah, exactly.
So he's doing what he's supposed to do, and to have him at plus money is crazy to me.
I agree, especially in this situation here.
I would have this, honestly, if I was the bookmakers, and it's going to switch. So if you want to put a little something on top of money line now, I would. But it's definitely going to switch because 80% of the public is on Tafa.
Ooh. Dude, I'm excited for Tafa's little brother. He's kind of been my boy the last few fights. He fought Usman, lost that fight, and came back and knocked Parker Porter the hell out. And he was plus money there against Parker Porter, which was awesome. And he's got a little more range than Justin Tafa, which I like. But yeah, this Tafa brothers, Justin Tafa, I feel like we're on the same page there. This next one, gonna be interesting. I feel like we might be on opposite sides here. Who do you got between Amanda Lemos and Mackenzie Dern?
I have to go. I have to go with my girl Mackenzie Dern. I don't know what's going on with her striking now. Obviously, she doesn't have the same coaches. What's his? I forget who was her coach. Um, when she
Um,
when she fought like Angela Hill. Um,
she's like training in a garage now. I know that.
no, but it wasn't Henry Hooft. Ruka, right? Wasn't it Ruka? Jeez.
I can't remember, but it was a
Jason Perillo.
well-known.
Yeah, she's not Jason Perillo. She's not with Jason Perillo anymore, and that was evident in her last fight. Where remember, it looked like she regressed in her striking.
Yeah, she was
So
wailing like a drunk uncle.
yeah, so what she's gonna have to do is she's gonna have to pray to God that she can land a takedown and get Lemos down to the ground. I don't think, even though Amanda Lemos, right, she does have, 3 sub wins, 8 knockouts. Like she's good. She can submit you. Nobody is realistically close to Mackenzie Dern on the ground. So that's the easiest path to victory is if Mackenzie Dern can get her to the ground, get the submission. This one, I'm just going to take Dern by submission, and I think that's going to be the safe bet. I should get it at pretty good money too.
She get plus 200 on that.
Yeah, I think I might get it a little bit more, but you got to remember too. I mean, Lemos just came off a 5-round fight with Wei Li. And that wasn't that long ago. That was 5 months ago. She just came out, and that was a grueling fight. That was a really, really grueling fight for her.
Yeah, she got her ass fucking beat.
Yeah, I mean, and then Jessica Andrade stopped Mackenzie Dern, but I almost favor that. Even though Mackenzie Dern got stopped, she wasn't in there for the full 25 minutes with Wei Li. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
And even though it was shorter, I think Mackenzie Dern knows I'm not getting any younger. I'm going against a woman that is 6 years my elder. She's been up and down as well, most recently. So she just has to get that takedown. If she can figure out some way to get a takedown and not make it look like she's telegraphing and shooting from all the way across the octagon, and she can do it successfully, she has the advantage here. She has to take her to the ground. That's the easiest way. Take her to the ground.
Yeah, I think 100% agree with everything you said. This is literally just Rodolfo Vieira versus Armin Petrosian from last week. It's the exact same fight except women's MMA and a week later, because if Mackenzie Dern gets Amanda Lemos to the ground, it's about a minute and then Lemos is going to be tapping. I'm 100% certain of it, 200% certain of it. The only issue we have here is if Mackenzie Dern comes out like she came out in that last fight. We do know that Jessica Andrade, has been working on her takedown defense, and she looked better in that Mackenzie Dern fight because Jessica Andrade had been getting wrestled a lot and been getting submitted a lot, and so everyone thought it was going to be easy work for Mackenzie Dern. But Jessica Andrade, she's athletic. She really had been working on it, and it paid off. It also was a little bit of Mackenzie Dern training in a fucking garage and firing her striking coach. So hopefully she's worked on that, shored up those kind of mistakes that she made in that last fight. But the big thing here is Dern has the game changer here of getting it to the ground and submitting her. Lemos, if it stays on the feet, she could land that big punch. She's also 36 years old, almost 37, at 115 pounds, and she just took a life changing beating over 5 rounds. I mean, I would have almost rather seen her get stopped in the second because she took 3 extra rounds of, almost getting finished. If I remember right, the scorecards were like 43-50. Like she got 10-8 it twice because she just kept getting elbowed in the head on the ground until, you know, the end of the fight. So I feel like Mackenzie Dern here is going to be able to get those takedowns because Lemos against Zhang Wei Li was getting taken down easily. She was falling on her back, not the best takedown attempts from Wei Li. Wei Li's not known for her wrestling as much as someone like, I don't know, like a Blanchfield or something like that. But Wei Li's also not known for her grappling. She's mostly known for her brawling. And so to see her completely take down and control Lemos, it goes to show how dangerous Lemos is on the feet because Zhang Wei Li didn't even want to deal with it. But it also goes to show how bad Lemos is on the ground. And at 36 years old, you're not going to be changing your game a lot. It's not going to be evolving a lot. And so Mackenzie Dern, 30 years old, she's still able to evolve. She's also just world class on the ground. I feel like one takedown, minute later, fight's over. I'm going to stick with that. And I feel like, Mackenzie Dern by sub is one of the easier bets on the card. I feel like if we decide to do, dog or lock of the week, that could be the pick because I really don't see Mackenzie Dern, doing much else other than going out, shooting a takedown, and then going for an armbar. Like that just feels like 9 out of 10 times that fight is going to end like this. But
Yeah.
I'm on Dern. I thought you were going to be on Lemos because you picked her against Zhang Wei Li, but we're both on Dern.
Come on, man. I gotta go with Dern.
Yeah, Dern is going to be our girl.
Oh, this is a tough one. This is a tough one right here, and this is kicking off the main card.
This is tough, dude.
So we got Anthony Fluffy Hernandez versus Roman Kopylov. To be pretty much straight up and blunt, I think Hernandez has to take Kopylov down and submit him. We know he can submit people. Obviously, he submitted Rodolfo Vieira, so we know he has the ability to do that. But I think if he stands on the feet, I think it's going to be a rough night out for him against Kopylov. I think Kopylov can put him out, to be honest with you. He's been knocked out by Kevin Holland. Granted, that was a long time ago. But I think the streak that he's been on right now he's just been on a tear. He's got 4 finishes by knockout in a year and a half. So I like Kopylov on this. I think the only way he loses this fight is if he gets taken down and submitted. But I think he should be able to keep a distance and be able to keep it standing up and get the W.
All right. This is going to be our first split pick on the card, I think. I'm going to be going Fluffy Hernandez. I don't like the price tag there, like that minus 200 range. I'm not really a big fan of that because it's Fluffy Hernandez, and at this point he's a good fighter. We know he's kind of like that top 20, top 25 type of fighter, but so is Kopylov. That's the issue. Is Kopylov is also, he was, if I remember right, a national Sambo champion, and so he's gonna have a chance to neutralize Fluffy's wrestling. I just personally don't think he's going to be able to deal with the heart and the pace that Hernandez is going to put on him. We saw Hernandez put an absolute fucking pace on Edmund Shabazian. We saw him put an absolute fucking pace on Marc-Andre Barriault. And we also saw, MAB, Marc-Andre Barriault, good fight against Chris Curtis. And Chris Curtis, kind of highly touted by some. We're a little lower on him than most. But, Fluffy's got a win over him, a win over Edmund Shabazian, a win over Josh Fremd, who fucking sucks, but doesn't matter, and a win over Rodolfo Vieira, who we just saw get a big dub. So Hernandez has some legitimate wins on this 4-fight win streak. Kopylov beat Josh Fremd, who fucking sucks.
Wait, hold on. He knocked him out. Hernandez did not finish Fremd.
Yeah. That's because in this fight, Kopylov has the clear power advantage. I agree with you there. I mean, the finishing advantage goes to Kopylov 100%. I just think Kopylov's takedown defense isn't going to be good enough. That's kind of where I draw the line here is I think Hernandez cardio and just wanting it more is going to be able to just will himself to fucking double legs. He's probably going to attempt 15, 18 takedowns in this fight, in my opinion. And I think he's got the gas tank to do it. I don't think Kopylov has the gas tank to defend that many takedowns. So that's why I'm going to pick Fluffy. But I don't think he'll be on my card or my betting card at all at minus. He's minus 220 now on DraftKings. So I'm not interested in that, but I will pick Fluffy.
Would you be interested in a coffee bet then?
Ooh, I'll do a coffee bet here. I'll do that.
All right.
You want the coffee bet? You got Kopylov, I got Fluffy.
Yes, sir.
Because you're one in the hole. We had an unlisted coffee bet with DDP and Strickland. So this will be your makeup. If Kopylov wins this, we'll be back to even.
Yeah. So here's the thing though too. You're giving him wins over, Edmund Shabazian. I mean, are you kidding? Are you serious? You're really gonna tout that as a good win? Shabazian, the great white hype that did absolutely nothing.
Yeah, he was supposed to beat Izzy back in the day. Remember, he was gonna be the man. Yeah, he fucking sucks.
He was supposed to be. Yeah, until he pulled a Val Woodburn, and once he got to the big league, just stood there and got the shit out of him.
Pulled a Val Woodburn. He did. I mean, I remember he got his face painted into the canvas by Derek Brunson, which, I mean, if you're losing to Derek Brunson at this point in Derek Brunson's career, I don't know what to tell you. You're not going very far in the UFC, but Kopylov, I mean, DeShirico, Soriano, Ribeiro, and then Josh Fremd. He's on that finish streak, so yeah, coffee bet on the line, man. You're going to be getting those Colombian beans that I sent a picture of. I'll send that baby right over.
Those fair trade.
Yeah, those fair trade beans. I'm telling you though, dude, Hernandez he's gonna attempt over 15 takedowns here.
Well, I'll tell you who is definitely gonna attempt over 15 takedowns.
Oh God.
This next fight, Marab the Machine versus Triple C. Everybody knows Triple C, Henry Cejudo. I'll let you start it off. How boring do you think this fight is going to be?
It's gonna be pretty boring. I mean, if I had to put it on a scale of like Rose Namajunas versus the Cookie Monster to what's another boring ass fight? I'm trying to think. Oh, here's one. Damian Maia versus Tyron Woodley. Shout out to the older fans who have been around longer than Conor McGregor. I would say it's going to be closer to that Tyron Woodley, Damian Maia side. I feel like it's not going to be as boring as Rose Namajunas. That was, I mean, the worst fight I've ever seen in my entire life. This shouldn't be that bad, but it's still going to be Merab Dvalishvili literally just grabbing his legs and pushing him up against the cage for fucking 15 straight minutes. And it's going to be Cejudo doing the splits because he's, an Olympic champion wrestler, not giving up takedowns, but also probably losing the fight because he can't seem to fucking get separation. I'm really tempted to pick Cejudo here, though. I mean, I'll make a little case for him. I went into today thinking I was going to be picking Marab. I watched a little bit of tape. I watched Marab versus Peter Yan, and then I watched Marab versus Marlon Moraes, and then I watched Marab versus Cody Stamen, and then I watched Cejudo versus Aljo, and then I watched Cejudo versus TJ Dillashaw, and then I watched Cejudo versus Marlon Moraes. So I watched a lot of these fights today because I was really fucking torn on this one. And I kind of think Marab has a chin issue. I kind of think he does. And Peter Yan.
How can you? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. How can you say that?
Say he has a chin issue? Because Cody Stamen rocked him. That was the crazy part. Cody Stamen rocked this guy. And then he almost got finished by the ghost of Marlon Moraes. And I get Marab has been, he beat Jose Aldo. He beat Peter Yan without having any sort of an issue. But that's still only a couple years ago that you were getting rocked by Marlon Moraes and Cody Stamen. So I kind of feel like there's a chance that you could get caught here. But also, Henry Cejudo is really, really likely to just be on his back foot here, allowing Dvalishvili or Marab to just run him into the cage and hold him against the cage and go for a takedown and go for another takedown. I trust Cejudo to make more, I guess, like adjustments mid-fight. Like, Marab is going to do the same thing over and over and over and over and over. He's going to throw a few punches out there as basically phantom punches, and then he's going to go to your legs or go to just trying to body lock you. I feel like Cejudo is going to be able to have ways to counter that, but I also saw this week Cejudo fired his coach on camera.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up.
And it was fucking weird, man. It was just bizarre. Like, it was just odd behavior. Cejudo also, in his interviews, he has like a dead eye look. Like, his eyes don't look like they have much life in them. I don't know what, like, that's an odd speculation from me. That's an odd thing to say. I don't really usually say that, but his eyes just don't look like he's fucking excited or, like, into it at all. And Marab is always just lively and ready to go. Like, this dude is just ready to get after it. He's ready to put in 15 minutes of the hardest cardio workout you've ever seen in your entire life. I don't know, though. I don't think Cejudo's going to get out grappled. I just don't know if Cejudo's head is in it. I think this should be minus 110, minus 110. I think this should be even line fight. So that's why I'm kind of interested in Cejudo. If Cejudo gets to plus 190, they would force my hand. I mean, if they put Cejudo, what's he at right this second? He's plus 165. So if he got up to plus 190, they'd force my hand and I have to bet Cejudo. But, I mean, right now, I for a pick, I would probably go Marab. But this, for me, is the hardest fight on the card to pick.
Well, here's the thing too. You got to look at a couple things. Henry came off the shelf, 9 months ago to fight Aljo, which was crazy. That was his first fight back.
I thought he won that fight, to be honest.
If you could leave it, if you could vacate it, I don't think none of them really did much to win that fight, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's fair.
But to watch him after that fight, he was going to retire. He was taking off the gloves. That was going to be it. Then you got Marab jumping in there. You got Sean jumping in there. And you want to be a part of that mix. And I think Chael Sonnen even said, he's like, he 100% was going to retire. Once you see how much fun and what's going on in the back and forth, you have that FOMO. You want to be involved in that. So he's, he thought about it for, 5 minutes. And then when he finally did get the microphone, he was ready to make plans for his next fight. But at 37 years old, and the pace that Marab can put on people and with the takedowns, I think Henry's going to be on his back foot the whole time. I do think it's going to be a boring fight. Maybe Henry's got a puncher's chance if you think he does have um, chin issues. But if I don't think if Jan didn't put him out, I think Jan is much better on the stand up than Henry. If Jan didn't put him out, I don't think Henry's gonna. So I think it's gonna be just a straight position control for Marab.
All right. I think, all right, for the sake of just having a pick, I'll pick Cejudo. I kind of gassed him up. I'll pick Cejudo just for the sake of having one. I feel like that gives us two where we're butting heads on. So now, when Cejudo gets randomly knocked out and Fluffy Hernandez gets knocked out, you can text me and send me a clown gif or something. But yeah, dude, I don't know. I think this is going to be a close one. I think it's going to be one of those where it's going to be like 29-28, and a lot of people are going to be mad about who loses. They're going to think it was a robbery. It's going to be exactly like that Aljo Cejudo fight, I feel like. I feel like it's going to be the same thing again, where it's just real close, pretty technical, but also real boring, like you said.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole thing too. I mean, 37. Granted, Henry is small, but when you're fighting, he's still cutting weight. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
He's
37
he's a
is not good.
he's a stocky guy. You know what I mean? He's short and stocky, instead of a tree trunk, I'd say a tree stump.
Tree stump.
But
Henry the tree stump Cejudo.
that's what I'm saying. So if he's cutting a 135, he's probably walking around at least 155, maybe 160.
Yeah.
So that's a that's a big cut, man. That's a big cut, and especially going back into cardio when you really technically you fought 25 minutes in 4 years.
Yep.
So that's a tough one, but I do like Marab on that. I think it's just gonna be cardio and pace, and it's gonna be just too much.
It's going to be a high level fight. That's for sure. Because both those guys, I mean, both of them could be title contenders any day. They could fight Sugar and put up a good fight. They could fight Cheeto and put up a good fight. So, oh man, I think this is our main event. This is Ted and Tim's main event here. We
This
got
is this is this is instead of Geoff Neal versus Ian Garry. We should just call this Jack Hermanson versus Joe Pyfer.
That's what I like to hear. And we called the fucking upset.
Yeah,
Me and you both.
This to me is the same thing because it's almost a mirror fight bout where we saw Joe Pyfer. He did this. He came up. He was doing good things. But then once you get to a guy that's at a different level, who's fought the who's who, and granted they haven't maybe won all those fights, but they're in the ring and they're going a full fight with them, fighting with champions. Now you're in that same thing where you have Ian Machado Gary, who I still didn't forget about him getting rocked by Kanan Song, right? And then
Yep.
I faded him against D-Rod, obviously, and then he ended up knocking out D-Rod. But then he went to a decision with Neil Magny. And I don't know, his headspace was very weird in that one. And he said he wanted to beat on him and stuff like that. I don't think that was the case. But now you're going with Geoff Neal, who honestly impressed me by going as long as he did with Shavkat, right? He does have a win over Vicente Luque, which I think that is a fantastic win. Santiago Ponzinibbio, split decision win, which I give him credit for. But then if you look to who he lost with, he lost the fight to Neil Magny. That was a different Neil Magny. That was 3 years ago. Then he lost to Wonder Boy. So that's the whole thing. When you lose to guys like that, I think Shavkat is going to be a champion. I think you think Shavkat will be a champion as well.
100%.
But when you look, he's got wins over Bilal Muhammad, Nico Price, Platinum Mike Perry, who is the undefeated African undisputed champion of the world. Um, that's the stuff. That's the stuff you have to look at when you really take apart what somebody's done. There's no pressure on Geoff Neal. You know what I mean? He's ready to go in there and do what he's got to do. He's already lost in the UFC, but he's never been knocked out. He's never been knocked out in the UFC. So I think I'm gonna have to go with Geoff Neal here. I think he does have the power. I think he does have the resume, right? Um, Ian Machado Gary, I don't. His most impressive win to me was the win over D Rod because that surprised the hell out of me.
Yeah,
That
that was a good win.
I don't want to say it's fluky. I really don't. Um, it did surprise me. It was set up beautiful, but the Kanan song where he got absolutely rocked, that surprised me. And that's something where you say, you think Marab has chin issues. I mean, what happens once you start moving up against, a guy that could hit like Geoff Neal? You know, Neil Magny was a good win, dude. This isn't Neil Magny of old. You know what I mean? And Geoff Neal is still young enough, 33 years old, where he's going to be a big problem and he's going to carry a lot of power. And um, I don't think when he went against Magny, Ian Garry, that is, I don't think, um, I don't think it's going to be even close to the same amount of power that Geoff Neal possesses. I think it's really going to surprise um, Ian Garry, especially, right? Especially since all the shit that's been going on with him and his wife, and you know, granted he had to pull out of his last fight. I don't really know the whole story about that,
Nobody
but
knows what really happened there.
yeah. But even with him going off on all these tangents and attacking everybody and stuff like that, I don't think he's mentally there, and I think that it's gonna play a big part, and we'll see if he's laser focused. But I still think he's gonna get the boo birds um, at this fight, and I think people are gonna get behind Geoff Neal, and it wouldn't surprise me if he gets knocked out by Geoff Neal. I'll throw a little sprinkle on a Geoff Neal by KO, but I'm also gonna take Geoff Neal straight up because that's gonna be great plus money. Um, Especially once we hit weigh-ins.
Yeah, I locked in Geoff Neal at plus 195. Like it says on the topology, it's plus 185 right now on DraftKings. You might get that plus 195 again. I just think Gary's head is not in the right place. Number one, Gary's got a lot of issues since that last fight that he won. So he won that last fight. He was already in weird territory talking about Magny's kids, and I don't remember what the fuck happened. And then he comes out and he puts a shirt on with Geoff Neal, his mugshot on there when Geoff Neal drove drunk and had a gun or something. I don't know. Dude made a mistake. He put his mugshot on a shirt. And so Gary's been, he's been talking a lot of shit. And then it gets flipped on his head. And it's not even the guy that he's fighting. Luque is not going to talk shit. He was supposed to fight Vicente Luque. Vicente Luque, great guy, great competitor. He's not going to talk shit. He's not going to be an asshole. It wasn't even him. But it came out that Gary's 65-year-old wife made a book about how to catch these youngster athletes and become a something like a fucking a wag or something. I think is the
Yeah.
word where it's like a wife of an athlete. Um, And then it comes out that, Gary's wife has been messaging with really famous footballers. Yeah, and so now it is Ian the Cuck Gary is the big thing all over Twitter, and Gary has not responded well. He got a phantom sickness after saying he was scared for his family's safety in Las Vegas. Uh, a sickness that just came on as soon as it came out that his wife had been DMing these football players down in Brazil. And then now he's kind of lashing out at Rampage Jackson fight week. He's lashing out at everyone who's calling him a cuck. And he's not responding well to getting one thing thrown back in his face when he threw 50 out. And I don't really like when that happens. It's kind of what happened with Sean Strickland. He talks so much shit, and then DDP talked some shit back, and Sean couldn't take it. And then Sean lost his cool before the fight. Ended up being a close fight, but Sean lost. I think we're going to see a similar situation here where Gary's head's not on straight, and he's fighting a guy in Geoff Neal who's fighting at a very fucking high level right now. Geoff Neal beat Vicente Luque, beat the fucking brakes off of him 2 fights ago.
Yeah.
Gave Vicente Luque a brain bleed. And then he fought Shavkat Rakhmonov 11 months ago. He lost that fight. He was down 2-0 on the scorecards. But if you go rewatch that fight, that is a great showing for Geoff Neal if you think of Shavkat like I do. You talked about it earlier. You think he's a future champ. I think he's a future champ. I think he is exactly who everyone thinks Khamzat is. Everyone thinks Khamzat is apex predator guy who's going to beat everyone in the world. I think Shavkat is the apex predator guy who's going to beat everyone in the world. Guy who beats Khamzat if he fights him. I think Shavkat is potentially one of the best fighters in the world right now, honestly. And Geoff Neal put on a good performance against him. Geoff Neal arguably could have won one of those first 2 rounds. It was close. I watched it today. He landed a lot of fucking good punches on Shavkat Rakhmonov. We've never seen Shavkat get rocked. We've seen Gary get rocked. We've seen Gary get rocked by Kanat San, and I think Geoff Neal is a much better fighter. I think he possesses the same or better power, and I just think Geoff Neal is on this trajectory to where the guy's top 10 right now already. This guy could be someone we see fighting for a title in a few years. He's 33. He's getting a lot better. Gary, 26, getting a lot better, training with Charles Oliveira, but I don't think his head's the right place, number one, and I don't think he has kind of the right style to beat a Geoff Neal. I think Geoff Neal, in order to beat Geoff Neal, you're going to have to push him against the cage. You're going to have to kind of clinch him up. I think you're going to have to, really, really be very well, organized with your distance management. And Gary is okay with distance management, but he messes up. We saw him in that Kanat San. We saw him in a few situations where he just doesn't quite have his head on a swivel when it comes to making sure that you're the right distance from your opponent. And Geoff Neal, he's going to have a reach advantage here, which is kind of weird. He's 4 inches shorter, but he's going to have a reach advantage. He's going to have the power advantage. I think he has the boxing advantage. He's not going to have the kickboxing advantage. Gary's going to have the kicks, but Geoff Neal is going to have the boxing advantage. I also think Geoff Neal has a little better... I don't know if he has a better striking defense, but I do think he has really good striking defense. And I think that's going to be pretty good for him here because Gary's going to throw a lot of leg kicks and Gary's going to try to follow him up with head kicks. That's the one thing that worries me is a head kick. That's my biggest worry in this fight because Geoff Neal got head kicked by Shavkat in the first round and got cut in that fight. And I feel like if Gary comes out with a head kick heavy game plan, he could see success with that. But I'm hoping that Geoff Neal has shored that up since then. And I'm pretty heavy on plus 195. I'm feeling comfortable. I think he's going to box his way into range. I think he's going to brawl. And I think he's going to win a decision. He might knock him out. He could. Gary doesn't have the best chin like we saw. He's got that sort of skinny neck syndrome, and he keeps his chin up real high. And when you do that, you're more likely to get cracked. And also, Gary doesn't do a very good job rolling with punches. That's the difference between him and Shavkat's striking defense. Because I watched a couple Gary fights. He doesn't roll. He just absorbs. When he gets hit, he just tries to will his way through it and just keep walking forward or get back out of range. Shavkat rolls, and that's why he was able to take Geoff Neal's power punches because Geoff Neal landed a lot of full power punches on Shavkat. Shavkat would roll with him. He'd take him. He would kind of shoulder roll a little bit here or there. Gary doesn't do any of that. Gary's very karate based. And karate based guys tend to get laid the fuck out when they get that one punch that hits them. Think of Anthony Pettis versus Wonder Boy. Wonder Boy doesn't roll well with punches. He's just really good at evading punches all together. When he gets hit, he doesn't roll like a boxer with those punches. He just doesn't get hit often. And that's kind of Gary's situation as well. And I think Geoff Neal puts one on his chin. I think Gary could go out, or I think Geoff Neal could put him down a few times and win the decision. But I think plus 195 is a gift here. I think Geoff Neal's a lot better fighter than this line and than a lot of people are giving him credit for this week. That was long, but that was my entire breakdown there. I kind of rambled, but
yeah. No, we're both on the same page.
All right, co-main time. I don't even want to talk about this one. This one's gonna make me sad, man.
All right. Well, we got Bobby Knuckles versus Paulo Costa, and Bobby Knuckles, also known as Robert Whittaker. Yeah, this was a tough last fight for Bobby Knuckles, for you losing to DDP.
Yep.
But you get the satisfaction of knowing that he did lose to who is now the champ, DDP. So there is something to keep your head high on, right? He didn't lose to just anybody. His last losses have been to all champions. So that's really nothing to take away from. The thing that I'm worried about is going against Paulo Costa, who didn't look really good against Luke Rockhold, who hadn't really fought in quite some time. That concerns me. But from what I've seen from Costa, he looks to be leaning down well. He seems to be managing his weight, but we all know today's Monday. They don't fight until Saturday. God only knows what can happen with Paulo Costa. I think what Whittaker is going to have to watch out for is that power. I think he carries much more power than DDP, and DDP was putting Whittaker down. That being said, when you're a guy like Robert Whittaker, when you're fighting, the top of the food chain, all of his fights are the top of the food chain. So he's always in wars. Marvin Vettori, that went 5 rounds. Before that, Izzy 5 rounds. Kevin Gastelum 5 rounds. Cannonier. What was that? That might have been 3 rounds. Darren Till 3 rounds, and I apologize. Kevin Gastelum was a 3-rounder, and Vettori was a fight night, so that was a main one. That was a 5-rounder. I mean, you're going with all of these. You know what I mean? Joel Romero, twice. Those are both 215 or 213 and 225, both UFC main events. That's a lot of time to be in a ring with the top of the food chain, the octagon. And you're 24-7. That's a lot of fights. You're not looking at a guy that hasn't seen much action or not taking a lot of hits. He's been hit a lot, and I think unfortunately we're at that time where we're gonna start to see it turn. And going against Paulo Costa, even though he is sloppy, he hits so hard, so hard, and I think that's what's going to be a problem. If we see another in the comeback, listen, I understand he did have 7 months off. If I was him, maybe he needs to get back on that horse a little bit faster. He did have about a year off from the Vittori fight in between him and DDP. I don't know. I don't know what he's got to do, but he did not look the same in that last fight. So I think Paulo, as the dog, I think Paulo can finish his night pretty quick. So I'll probably just take a little sprinkle on Paulo Costa by KO, but I think Costa is gonna edge him out here and just kind of put a beating on him. Unfortunately.
Yeah, so Bobby Knuckles is probably one of my favorite fighters of all time, and I don't ever bet on any of his fights anymore because I'm just a little too emotionally invested. But this is one of the fighters that, like, when he loses, like, I'm actually sad for like 24 hours afterwards. So when he got knocked out by DDP, I was happy it was DDP because when he got knocked out by Adesanya, that was fucking rough because I don't like Adesanya. I think he's like a fucking little bitch. But when he got knocked out by DDP, I was like, at least, DDP is being a nice guy about it, isn't showboating and being crazy and acting like he's, the, God's gift to earth. DDP was humble about it and stuff. But yeah, I love Bobby Knuckles. I agree with you, though. I think at this point in his career, he's taken a little too much damage and his chin is just not what it needs to be to fight at the level that he's been fighting at for so long. And he's only lost to champions. So he's only losing to that top, people in the division. And Paulo Costa's not a champion. And he probably will never be a champion. He's too sloppy. He doesn't have 5-round cardio. And he has a tendency to just kind of give up randomly. It's odd. He's been in really good fights where he's looked like an unbeatable hammer, and then there's been other fights where it's just kind of looked like he's the nail, and he just doesn't even want to be there sometimes.
Yeah.
And Bobby Knuckles has the ability to do that. He's a better mixed martial artist than Paulo Costa. So if Bobby goes in there and he stays smart, he has the ability to just beat Paulo Costa over 3 rounds completely in every single aspect of mixed martial arts. Pop the jab, pop a few kicks, keep his distance. I just don't trust his chin, and I also just I don't want to get my hopes up because it seems like he's due for that sad end of his career based on what we saw. I mean, he was getting dropped by jabs. That's something you don't want to see. You don't want to see your favorite fighter getting dropped by a jab. So I feel like he's due for that 3-fight losing streak and decides to retire sort of a situation. But he does still have the skill sets to beat Paulo Costa, and I'm going to be cheering for him with all my heart. I'll probably be watching one eye closed because I don't want to see him get clipped again. But I think if I were not a Robert Whittaker fan, I think maybe a Paulo Costa knockout bet would be online here, and would probably be honestly good value because you're getting close to plus 200 on the money line on Paulo, and with a chin like Rob's, you could see a first round. It could be quick too. I mean, he lands a good punch, which Costa comes in there throwing hooks like crazy. It could be quick. I don't know though. I'm gonna be cheering for Rob, but if I was a betting man in the situation, I'd probably be on Costa.
Yeah.
It's time for the main event.
Yeah. I'm trying to find something here. I'm a little curious. So I'm looking at this main event. For those who do not know, it is Alexander Volkanovski versus Ilia Topuria. Now, I'm looking at Tapology right now, and it has Volk's main gym right now, Tiger Muay Thai. And I don't know if it's maybe just a typo, but it doesn't have City Kickboxing.
I'm gonna Google it, see what I can find.
Because that would pause a little bit more concerned if for this camp he is not with City Kickboxing. I haven't seen anything.
It says he's training at both.
Tiger Muay Thai and City Kickboxing?
It says he's done part of his training camp at both. So he must have flew back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if that's what he normally does. Either way, this I'm in the same boat with you, and I'll let you speak your part. But what I do think here is this. I'm gonna hedge this with Topuria money line, and currently right now Topuria money line and a Volk to win by KO. I really, really believed in Yair, and I was very disappointed.
Same here.
And I really, really believe in Topuria, but this is coming back to that Bobby Knuckles and Ian Garry. Mostly Ian Garry is Topuria's been rocked, and I don't know if going against such a phenomenal striker as Volk, I don't know if even if Volk doesn't have his A game, I think Topuria has to be perfect. I think he has to be perfect, and he can win. I think if Volk is not perfect, but I don't want to say good enough because it's hard to then you're getting into a whole bunch of fine lines. I don't think if Volk doesn't have his best night, I think he could still win and finish the fight. I think he could take some shots. He can get out of submissions. I mean, just from watching him fight, Islam the first time, Ortega, Holloway, like you see some of these, competitors that he's been against. I don't know if Topuria is fully in that conversation to be the same as those guys. He will if he gets a win over Volk. But like I said, he has to be perfect and not make any mistakes. Otherwise, he will end up in the same position as Yair Rodriguez. Now, granted, there was a little bit of a headbutt before the whole thing happened with Yair. But even still, look at Max Holloway. Look at some of these guys that he's fought. He just makes it almost look too easy. In this weight class, granted, he fought Islam twice, lost twice. One he went the distance. The other one he got slept, which me and you did pretty well on. But I want to see what the lines come out as for Volk by KO, and I want to see how the weigh-ins look. What are your thoughts on this one?
This is a tough fucking fight, man.
Yeah, that's what.
This is a tough one.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard because when I say one has to be perfect and the other one could still have an off night and still win. So it's kind of like, well, how fine of a line is that? So if Volk is 90%, but yet Topuria is 99%, who's going to
Where's
edge
the
out
flip?
who?
Yeah.
I think it's a very thin margin of error for both, but I think the guy that has the most experience, his window and margin of error is a little bit greater that he can work in than Ilia Topuria, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it does. I have a bet on Topuria right now, but it's at like plus 130. And now the line is flipping. We're seeing Topuria at even. If this goes to plus odds on Volk, I'm going to have to bet Volkanovski and cash out of Topuria just based on a money and a mathematical situation, because I feel like this line is slowly just becoming wrong. I thought the correct line was about plus 130 on Topuria. I think that's still, that even might have been a little bit short. I mean, just being completely honest here, if Volk did not take that second Islam Makhachev fight and get head kicked, Alexander Volkanovski would be minus 180 or higher here if he did not get head kicked in that Makhachev fight. Makhachev is a different beast than Topuria. They're completely different animals. Makhachev is a 170 pounder weight bullying at 155. He's getting IVs after every single weigh-in. It's that sort of shit. Volk honestly has the frame of a 135er. He doesn't even have the frame of a 145er. He's thick, but height, reach, all that sort of stuff, 135, if he wasn't so muscular, would have been in the realm of possibility. Topuria, on the other hand, this guy could have a Conor McGregor type stardom. We've kind of talked about it in text. This guy, he could be a superstar. It's just if he has the goods that everyone thinks he has currently. Because the line is flipping, and the line wouldn't be flipping if people didn't think that this guy was the second coming of Jesus Christ. Because to be a favorite at 145 over Alexander Volkanovski, he's never lost at 145. He's beat Max Holloway. He's beat Jose Aldo. He's beat Chad Mendez. The guy's resume is unparalleled at 145. Maybe Conor, you can make a couple arguments, but Volk is pretty much the 145 GOAT. That's pretty well known. So for you to be flipping the line to be a favorite against the GOAT of your weight class, you've got to have the goods. And let's look at his fights. So he beat Josh Emmett. He beat the shit out of Josh Emmett. But Josh Emmett is one-dimensional power puncher. Overhand right, big hooks. That's all he has. Volk is worlds better than Josh Emmett at striking. Bryce Mitchell, one-trick pony. Bryce Mitchell, if he doesn't take you down, you're going to beat the shit out of him. Topuria beat the shit out of him because he couldn't take him down. It was that easy. Let's go back to this Jai Herbert fight. Topuria gets head kicked, loses his entire sense of where he's at. I didn't know where he was. And then he comes back to knock out Jai Herbert. Jai Herbert fucking sucks. Before that, it was Ryan Hall. Ryan Hall is just Bryce Mitchell, BJJ edition. Bryce Mitchell's wrestling. Ryan Hall is BJJ. They're the same exact thing. Before that, Damon Jackson. Damon Jackson doesn't have a chin. Damon Jackson gets knocked out by anybody who can keep a little distance and brawl with him. So I'm not really seeing anything that makes me feel like Topuria's faced anything close to the Volkanovski level of competition. I would have loved to see Topuria fight Holloway. I would have loved to see Topuria fight Calvin Kattar before he fought Volk. Because I feel like Josh Emmett is not a good enough test. We've seen Josh Emmett. He lost that fight to Calvin Kattar. I know that Josh Emmett technically won it, but he lost that fight to Calvin Kattar. Josh Emmett is just really not a very, good MMA fighter. He's a good power punching boxer, I would say. I just don't think he's as good of an MMA fighter as most of the other guys at the top of this weight class. So that takes us to Volk. There's no holes in Volk's game, and that's where I agree 100% with your entire analysis of Volk could have, an off night and still beat Topuria because Volk has every single skill he needs. Topuria is great on the ground, and Topuria is great on the feet, but so is Volk, and we've never seen Volk lose at 145. I get he's 35 years of age, but Topuria is 27. That's pretty young to be a champ. If he loses here, he's coming back. He'll be back in 2 years. He'll be back in a year and a half, fighting for the title again. So I feel like this could be a situation where Volk comes in and he's too slick for Topuria because Volk's striking is maybe one of the most underrated aspects of his game. I mean, everyone always says he's a great striker, but he's one of the best strikers we've ever seen. And that's some people might say that's giving him a little bit too much credit, but I truly believe that Volk is one of the best strikers that the UFC has ever seen. And it's weird because he doesn't really do anything flashy, but he's so technically sound and he never really gets hit cleanly outside of fucking Islam Makhachev. I get it. That just happened. But outside of that, at 145, this guy is dismantling everybody. This guy is dismantling literally everyone on the feet. He dismantled one of the best boxers in the UFC, Max Holloway. He dismantled Jose Aldo. He dismantled the Korean Zombie. He's just dismantling people. Yair Rodriguez, a very, very highly touted kickboxer. Volk dismantled him. So I think I'm going to have to go with Volk at the current line. I had the underdog bet on Topuria. I'm probably going to switch sides, cash that out for a little bit of profit because they're going to give me a little bit because of the line movement. And I'm going to make a bet on Volk. I'm hoping I can get less than minus 110. So, like, if I got plus 100 on Volk, I'd be all over it. So, Volk is going to be the pick for me, but it is such a close one. It's such a fun one to think about, too. I feel like it's going to be great to watch because they're both such good fighters, and it's going to be either a changing of guards or it's going to be Topuria gets a setback and Volk shows that he's the top of the fucking food chain once again.
All right. So you ready for me to throw a wrench in everything that you just finished with?
Did someone pull out of the fight?
No.
Oh god.
No.
Okay.
But here's and he's stated this. So Volk just lost to Makachev 3.5 months ago. And he said that he didn't even train for the fight. He was just drinking and not really in it.
Yeah.
So now here we are, 3.5 months later. Do you think the personal issues and everything else that was going on with him can be resolved and have a fully significant camp in 3.5 months?
No, not really. That's where it comes down to what you were talking about, where it's like, where's that line of Volk not being 100%? How much does he need to beat Topuria? Because I don't think he's been talking a lot about kind of the mental struggles of that last fight and also when he sits around. And I can't imagine getting head kick knocked out in front of the entire world is going to help that at all. So I don't know. I really don't know what he's going to be coming in with. If it's 80%, if it's 90% of who we saw against Yair, who we saw against Max Holloway, who we saw against Max Holloway again, who we saw against Korean Zombie. I don't know if it's going to be 80, 90. I would have to think, just theoretically, if he's 90% of the fighter that he was when he fought in those Max Holloway fights, I think he beats Topuria.
Well, he's not. He's not going to be 90% of that guy, just for the simple fact that how long ago was that?
Yeah.
He's not getting
2 years, 3 years.
Yeah, he's not at the age of like Topuria where he's getting better. He's learning more things. He's putting it together. He's dealt with the pressure. He's becoming that veteran. This is once again, I hate to say it, but this is the Robert Whittaker side, and Robert Whittaker's even younger. That's the scary part.
Yeah.
I mean, they've had almost the same amount of fights, him and Whittaker, but Whittaker's 2 years younger than him. And granted, I understand different weight classes, but that's the whole thing. The higher the weight class, the more longevity that you have. That's why you have Arlovsky, is fighting at 45 years old. That's how you have some of these guys that can do that. I don't know if he, I hate to say it because I don't know if there are any alcohol issues or anything like that. I hope there isn't, but I don't see any major problems that he had going away and being strictly focused on a camp and retaining your belt. I don't see it. So I'm kind of talking myself out of, even if I can get Volk by KO at plus 110. I don't even know if that's even worth it. I don't know if it's worth it if it's plus 225, because I don't think his issues are sorted out. And this is another main event. He has to know the hype train behind Topuria. Unfortunately, I don't think if he loses this fight, I don't know what's next for him. It wouldn't surprise me if he retires, and that's craziness. I know it sounds crazy, but until he gets in the right headspace, which I don't think he is, I don't see him winning. I don't think it's possible.
Here's what I'm gonna bet. I've been thinking about this. I think if someone wins by knockout, I think it's gonna be Topuria. Just seeing after what Makhachev did, how quick of a turnaround this is, Volk's age, possibly his chin going. I think double chance, Topuria by knockout, Volk by decision. I'm going to have a little money on that. I have no idea what it's going to be. I would assume probably something like the plus 300 range. If I can get plus 300 on that, I'm going to be betting that all day and all night because I can see Topuria coming out and knocking him out in like the first or the second. I could also see Volk eking out a 48-47 decision, split decision, tough decision for the judges to come to. I don't know. It's just such a close fight. The line is perfect. -110, -110. The more you think about it, it's just perfect because it is such a close barn burner. Both can knock each other out. Both can win a decision. You just don't know what's gonna happen. I'm psyched to watch it though. I'm pretty fucking stoked for this.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I am going to sprinkle a little bit Topuria by submission. It would end up being Volkanovski's first submission loss if that was the case, but I don't think we're seeing the same guy that fought Brian Ortega. I don't think he has that same desire. I think if he gets into a position like he did with Brian Ortega, I think at this point in time he taps.
I think Topuria is better than Brian Ortega on the ground, which is going to be a hot take for a lot of people. But I think he's a better BJJ player than Brian Ortega too. So I don't mind that at all. I bet you're gonna get a fat number on that too. It'll be like over plus 1,000. I'd bet.
Yeah, well, we'll see. But you know what I mean? I think um, if Ortega had him in that same position, say Saturday night, with everything that has been going on with him, I think he taps to that. I think he gets out of there.
Possible, man. It's not out
It's
of the realm the way he's talking.
that's what I'm saying. It is sad. Obviously, somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose, but you don't want it to be a spiral. You want people to hang them up. I don't want to start seeing. And maybe it's because we see guys that we loved watching since they were, an Ultimate Fighter, like guys like Tony Ferguson. Perfect example
Oh,
on
dude.
on such a run, and then next thing you know, it's just a massive drop off. Like, it's terrible. You don't want to see that. But when you watch enough of this, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, starting Saturday or starting when he fought Makhachev last time, you don't know if that's going to be the start. But when you start kind of putting these things together, and then the age factor, it's inevitable. These guys aren't, they're taking years off their life. Every time they're getting head kicked, what do you think that's doing to them?
Yeah, fucking him up for sure.
So, and that's the thing. I'd rather these guys go out on top. If he loses here, it is what it is. He is in that conversation of being the GOAT. So we'll see, but Yeah, I'm definitely going to be taking Ilia Topuria, baby.
All right, I'll take Volk. You have Topuria. Dude, did you see that Volk's daughter asked him, "What if a robber breaks into our house and it's Islam Makhachev?"
No.
Yeah, bro. His daughter asked him that while they were driving. I'll send you the video. It was so funny.
What did he end up saying?
I can't remember what he said. I'll send it to you. I got it pulled up here, dude. It was hilarious. That's just one of those things that kids say, and you're just like, ah, god damn it, why are you bringing that up?
Oh man.
All right, but anyways, thanks for listening, and Tim, it was good as always.
All right, buddy. Thank you.